What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are back in World of Warships with another viewer replay. This one again was submitted by Bane of Ulster, who you may remember from last week, taking out his Fuso on the ocean map and doing pretty well in some close range brawling with some ships you wouldn't have expected the Fuso to come out on top in that situation. But anyways, today he is showing off his mad skills in the Tier 8 American cruiser, the New Orleans. And he is on the hotspots map, and he is going to do pretty well. And in fact, in his email when he submitted this, he said something along the lines of, who says you can't do well in high tier cruisers, because everyone knows that pretty much at high tiers the battleships are the things that do really well, them and aircraft carriers, and the cruisers kind of suffer a little bit at sort of tier 8, 9, and 10. But anyways, he has an enemy Iowa, a Tirpitz, a Pensacola, and an Otago all in front of him, and a North Carolina. Now, I'm showing you this because my internet has kind of sorted itself out, but I haven't updated to the new patch for World of Warships just yet. I had to get some more replays recorded. I very nearly forgot about it and updated, or at least finished the update without recording them, and that would have been pretty bad. Now, the Iowa is within range, maximum range, is going to fire a full salvo of high explosive. Now, this used to be my absolute nightmare situation. Iowa, because they never used to take, excuse me, much high explosive damage. You had to completely rely on setting fires because your high explosive would do almost nothing, but at least they changed that. But yeah, so obviously, as you know, my internet was causing problems, which is why I've had to rely on these all these replays that you guys had very kindly submitted. And now that it's sorted out, I should be able to get back into it, and hopefully everything stays nice and smooth, at least by my standards. Later this week, on Friday, there will be another replay, just because it was a really good game, and I don't want to forget about it. There will also be some more Armored Warfare, and then hopefully from next week, presuming everything goes according to plan and everything stays working well, I'll be able to start really getting back into this game myself. Also, to be honest, I'm not in the biggest hurry, because I have been following player feedback of the new patch on the forum and on Reddit, and it really sounds like this new patch is not particularly good. Pensacola at 13 kilometers is going to fire a full salvo, but I mean, I've just heard stupid things like armor piercing on battleships does next to nothing now. It is far more difficult to get a Citadel. It only gets one hit on the Pensacola. Far more difficult to get a Citadel. A lot of people have been saying that actually the best way to play cruisers in the state that the game is in right now, if you're in a cruiser against a battleship, don't angle, don't maneuver, just go full broadside. Even at close range, the accuracy seems to have taken a nerf, and when you show your full broadside, the battleship's shells just seem to be over-penetrating like mad, and if you angle, you actually make it easier for them to get a Citadel. I will try this out for myself during the week, but the overwhelming feedback has been negative, and when it's so overwhelming, it really is cause for concern for me, because one or two players you can dismiss as, learn to play or stop whining about nothing, but when it's like pretty much every post you see on it, the guys are complaining about it, then you really do need to take note. But anyways, he manages to get 3 high explosive hits on the enemy Lexington and secure his first kill. So both teams are down 1 aircraft carrier now. He is in rather close range to this Iowa, so he does have to be quite careful. Shots in, looking good, 4 hits, 1 fire, and he's also shot down 12 planes already. So the New Orleans is going to town on the enemy aircraft. Just trying to see how he's going to play this now. Is he going to close even further? The Iowa is now paying attention to, looks like to the battleship, the friendly battleship that's behind Bane of Ulster. Unfortunately, the Iowa is slowed right down, possibly even started reversing. You can just kind of see a smokestack. He has started moving forward now. Shots going in. 5, 7 hits and a fire. And again, the Iowa's just not paying attention to our little New Orleans, which is very good. He's no doubt turning his attention to this Tirpitz that is going to be very close to the Iowa, and I believe within torpedo range. So, is the Tirpitz paying attention? Doesn't really look like it. Doesn't seem to have launched torpedoes. More shots going in on Iowa, only a single hit for just over 900 damage. And there's a spread of torpedoes from the Tirpitz, but it's a wide spread, which at this kind of range is a little bit silly. Couple more hits. Is the Iowa going to take probably just a single torpedo? Indeed. But if that Tirpitz had fired a narrow spread and put a little bit more time into predicting the Iowa's movement, he could have gotten more torpedo hits than that, I think. And now that Tirpitz is going to... He manages to avoid the torpedo spread by the Fubuki. 6 more hits into the Iowa, not a whole lot of damage, and unfortunately no fires. I'm going to try and fire one last salvo before he goes out of range. I think he's probably going to turn around now, and with that salvo he gets a fire. North Carolina's within range though. Just trying to get guns on target. The front turrets do now have to swing all the way around, so he's going to fire off that single rear turret that is ready. And just a little bit too much lead and not quite enough elevation. So he kind of, even if he did hit, it would have been at the very front of the bow. Tirpitz now at 18. Things are not going well at all for his team. They don't have A, they don't have B. The enemy is capping C. His team is 200 points behind. His team has lost a carrier, a battleship, 3 cruisers and a destroyer. The enemy team has lost a carrier, a battleship and 4 cruisers. So losses wise they are about equal, but the enemy team has captured and held a lot more of the points than Bane of Ulster's team has, which has given them a nice points advantage. So I think this is a little bit... maybe I was about to say I think there might be a lull in action now. But this Tirpitz has just so generously sailed into range. So we're going to start putting some high explosive love downrange into Corn Style, which is an interesting name. And those shells, I think the Tirpitz slow down and turn, so they all missed unfortunately. And quite a few replay bugs going on this time around, clipping inside the ship. But what can you do? It happens. And until Wargaming fixes the replay system properly, something we're going to have to put up with when viewing replays. And another salvo off at Corn Style. There's Chaos Dunk in his Iowa, down to 46,700 health. The Tirpitz is on about half health. Got torpedo planes coming in, dropping on him. And that looked like a pretty good drop, I think. And he's just turning to starboard now to try and get on the inside of this friendly Tirpitz, I guess. Get behind him, shall I say. Just 11,000 points left on the enemy Tirpitz. High explosive going in, 3 hits, he sets a fire, down to 5,800 health. But the fire has been put out. Incoming shells, but I think those are going for ace. And we've got some planes coming in. Another fire, which will hopefully be the end of that Tirpitz now, because he has obviously used his repair kit. Down to 3,500 health, which is more than low enough for a fire to do its thing. Iowa taking a shot, not sure if that was aimed at Bane of Ulster or the Tirpitz behind us. Some shells seem to land in the water, some behind, so really could have been at either of them. And there we go, he manages to secure a second kill of the match by burning that Tirpitz to the ground. And And Iowa is moving forward again. Another salvo coming in. Bane of Ulster is turning into the incoming fire. And those were indeed coming for us. 4 hits, but very minimal damage, luckily. Takes a stab at the Pensacola. And not quite enough lead. This destroyer here takes a fairly good shot at him, but unfortunately just not enough elevation. And the destroyer turned away to avoid the incoming fire. And the Pepsi, where are you going? Takes another shot at the Pepsi. They're looking better this time. And indeed 3 hits for 1800. This is obviously the time when, if you could focus solely on the Pensacola, you probably want to switch over to armor piercing. Maybe fire off a few high explosive salvos and get him burning, but once that's done, you want to go for those citadels. But I think he sticked to high explosive simply because he wasn't going to have very much time to shoot at the Pepsi-Cola, and he was going to soon be focusing on this Fubuki as well as the Iowa, which obviously for both of them, high explosive is the ammunition of choice. And the Fubuki fired off a spread of torpedoes. Not sure. I think he's aiming at this battleship just in front of us on the port side. The Fubuki takes a torpedo, which is always embarrassing for a destroyer. And it knocked out his engine. You can see the fire coming out of the smokestacks. Bane of Ulster fires off a salvo, gets a couple of hits, does an incapacitation, but then a second wave of torpedoes finished off the destroyer. So now the Iowa is looking at us. Don't look at us. Look away. Don't you dare look at us, boy. 2,000 odd damage, or rather closer to 3,000. The Tirpitz has now strayed a little bit far away from the New Orleans and is coming under air attack. Now the Bane of Ulster's team has managed to cap B and does have a single ship lead, but there are still very close to 400 points behind the enemy team. North Carolina, 10 kilometers, opening up with our high explosive. 2 hits, and a fire for about 1,800 damage, I believe. North Carolina is maneuvering like a madman, turning hard to starboard to try and presumably angle his armor a bit better against the North Carolina, and trying not to close distance with the Tirpitz, because that's obviously playing into his hands. Bane of Ulster is trying to get a little bit closer to the Tirpitz to try and provide some AA. He does trigger his defensive AA perk, but unfortunately I think he was a little bit too far away and a little bit too late to be able to prevent those dive bombers from finding their mark. Another good salvo going in, 6 hits, 3,500 damage. This guy is also burning in 2 places. I think he did put out a single fire, and then Bane of Ulster managed to set 2 in the next salvo. So that is going to be hurting Captain Beyond. 1 more hit, no damage I don't think, I didn't see. And firing off another salvo. This Tirpitz is on very low health, 1,800 health. He's burning down to 1,000. He will be out very soon. Incoming shells from someone, possibly at Pensacola. Excuse me. So he's going to line up and take a shot. Unfortunately, he misreads the movements of the Pensacola here, and didn't realize that Pensacola was reversing, but still manages to get a hit, get a fire, and the carrier manages to torpedo him. But now Bane of Ulster is in a tricky situation because all of his allies around him are dead, and he is very close to the enemy aircraft carrier, which does mean he is going to come under focused carrier plane attack. Here come the dive bombers and the torpedo bombers. Manages to shoot down a torpedo plane. The dive bombers all miss, and here comes a spread of torpedoes. He eats 2 of them and is only damaged by the 3rd one. So carrier player dropped a little bit too close, and Bane of Ulster was able to turn in slightly and mitigate the damage from 2 of those hits. He did take, I think, engine damage and the flooding, obviously, but he had his repair. He had held off on that and used that to fix his ship right up. The carrier on Bane of Ulster's team is doing a fantastic job, gets a couple of torpedo hits on the North Carolina, takes him down to less than 5,000 health, but he is now using his repair party. But he's down to 8,000, which is a good number for a cruiser. You can finish that off fairly quickly, especially with the help of a few fires. And he manages to get 4 hits, sets a fire, and that will now burn because well, I imagine it will burn because the North Carolina probably used his repair kit to put out the flooding from those torpedoes. And here comes another torpedo strike, more shells incoming. He sets another fire, does 4 hits. He's desperately trying to turn away from these torpedoes. Here they come. He is going to smack one with the bum of his ship, and it doesn't do any damage, but the second one does. Now here he makes a bit of a mistake. I'm not sure if maybe his rudder was damaged and turned it in, or if it was just a bit of an oversight on his side, because he immediately turned hard to port and turned into the other 2 torpedoes. Thankfully he is still alive with a sliver of health, 97 health. But as you can see, his team has really come together and managed to take this match back. He still has a carrier and a battleship supporting him, while the enemy team is down to this last aircraft carrier. They have now captured all the points. There is no way the enemy team is going to win, even though they had a massive point advantage at one point. Got more carrier planes coming in, and he just needs a single, the carrier player needs a single hit with a bomb or a torpedo, and Bane of Ulster will be removed from this battle. But he does have his defensive AA perk ready. He has already triggered it. He has no doubt focused down the dive bomber squadron. It just doesn't seem to show up in replays. He's already shot down 2. Is he going to get more? Gets 3, gets 4, and the bombs miss, which is great news for him. And now he can start to put some shells downrange into this Ranger, which is on 18,000 health. He fires off the salvo. The torpedo planes are coming in, but I think they were massacred by anti-aircraft fire, as well as maybe some fighters. Gets a couple of hits in, or more than a couple, sets it on fire, does some good damage, firing with another salvo. The carrier player is charging him. I don't know, maybe he's trying to see if he can get lucky and go for a ram, but that obviously seems very unlikely. Bane of Ulster has slowed right down. There's no need to run. The carrier player has gone into his secondary range, but he manages to finish it off. So that could have gone badly if the secondary guns had found their mark. They would have been able to finish off Bane of Ulster. But anyways, on to the results. And as you can see, a very good performance by him in his New Orleans. He got 345,000 credits, 5,500 research. He got clear skies, excuse me. Managed to get 129 target hits, shoots down 48 enemy aircraft, which is pretty impressive. 1 incapacitation, 4 kills, 13 fires, and captured a base twice. As for the team score, as you can see, he came first place on his team. Just by 1 point, he manages to beat the Shikaku in second place, who also got 4 kills and 19 enemy planes shot down. On the enemy team, that Ranger came first for their team with 1,600 base experience. On to the detailed results, and as you can see, he did 55,540 high explosive damage from 114 target hits. Fires set 44,600 from the 13 fires, so not bad at all. Bane of Ulster, thank you very much, sir, for sending in this replay. Very much appreciated. I enjoyed watching it, and I hope you guys did too. But yeah, very well played, and look forward to seeing more from you in the future. But anyways, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing for more World of Warships content, as well as Armored Warfare, War Thunder, and a few other things from time to time. Also, if you have an awesome, amazing replay you'd like to submit and potentially have featured on my channel, check the description down below for the email address as well as the instructions. But anyways, that is it from me. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator458 signing off, and I will see you guys next time.